how do we discuss today the question of why? Why did we send our men to fight in Gallipoli? Like, how should we approach that question of why today?
Well, I think, we're already working through the history of colonialism in New Zealand. And I think a lot of progress has been made. 20 years ago, people weren't talking about colonial violence. They weren't talking about the New Zealand Wars. Many New Zealanders would not even be aware of the New Zealand Wars and the violence that followed the Treaty of Waitangi and the forceful confiscation of Maori lands by the Crown. Like those aspects of history, they were sort of being silenced for a very long time. It's only recently that we're facing up to that dark past and are working through the history. So I wonder whether, as part of this attempt to confront our own dark history, whether we could also talk about, what were we doing in World War One? What were we doing alongside Britain, expanding the British Empire in the Middle East? I think that could be part of the same discussion. And I think as you said in the beginning, I think it would make us aware that not only did the British colonize New Zealand, but New Zealand then supported Britain in the colonization of other parts of the world. And they've done so previously. I mean, there's the Boer Wars, for instance, in the late 1800s in today's South Africa, where again New Zealand sent troops to support the British Empire. So Gallipoli wasn't the first example of that happening. So I wonder whether, to answer your question, I wonder whether we could sort of bring those two together, or discuss Gallipoli as part of our current attempts to work through the dark past.
Because if you bring that back to what's happening in the Middle East today, not so much that New Zealand is involved with it, although we do have people over there supporting the fight against the Houthi, is that old saying is, if you first don't acknowledge the history, then you're doomed to repeat it. And I don't think many people in New Zealand would be keen to be a colonizing, expansionist associated country today. Maybe there are some, but they're not in my circle of friends, if I can put it that way, Ollie.
No, but I think what I had in mind when I wrote that last section of that article is the debate around AUKUS and whether New Zealand should join Australia, the UK, and the US in this military alliance. So that's really what went through my head when I was phrasing that last part of the article. So I don't expect that New Zealand will contribute to the colonization of other parts of the world in the future, but if you broaden this and think more widely about international politics and how to navigate geopolitics as a small nation, I think there is something to be learned from Gallipoli, not to follow great powers in their endeavors, or at least don't do it blindly, but think carefully about what it is that you're doing.
Kia ora again, whānau. The clip you've just watched is brought to you today by our patrons. If you want to be a part of what we do, if you want to get behind what we're doing, if you're enjoying our content and wanting to share our content, then maybe you would consider being a patron to Big Hairy News. Head to www.patreon.com/Big Hairy News to sign up to one of our levels and be a patron. At this point, we are only a listener and viewer supported show. It all comes down to you guys. If you feel like jumping on board to help, then head to patreon.com/Big Hairy News. Hooroo!